everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin, the Saturday version. Oh, I love doing Saturday. Early to rise, early to rise, early to advertise, and whatever the business is, we're ready to talk some football. Anyways, we have Candy, we have Mel, we have Marvin Powell the third. Of course, this initial cards say the second, so now we have the third, so we get to 1,000 instead of 500. It don't matter. He's Marvin Powell anyway. Glad to have everybody with us on the show. We'll see if Scott Solomon shows up. When he does, he is. But meanwhile, we have a busy agenda. Let's get right to it. We're going to talk about some college football alerts and predictions that were actually made before the tournament began via ESPN. Okay, their predictions. This should show you how much I really care about predictions. But what they had in the first round was they had Alabama 20-17 over Oklahoma. Okay, I'm going to read everyone off, and then everybody can go there. Miami 31-28, so those don't look too bad. Ole Miss 34-16 over Tulane. Oregon 38-13 over JMU. So apparently the first round doesn't look that bad. The quarterfinal, on the other hand, well, not so fast, my friend. Ohio State 27-20 over Miami. Texas Tech 23-20 over Oregon. Indiana 24-16 over Alabama. Georgia 31-21 over Ole Miss. And the semifinal, you had Ohio State 19, Georgia 16, Indiana 20-17 over Texas Tech. And then the final, you have Ohio State over Indiana 24-20. All right, Candy, you see the predictions. What are your thoughts about those predictions?
You know, they give Alabama too much credit. They, Indiana is rolling. Indiana is playing a high level of football right now, and they have all year. Having Ohio, and I get it because they played Ohio State. Like, how many times do you beat somebody? How many times? But Indiana's playing really tough. I don't think they gave Miami as much respect because they saw the two losses earlier in the year and they thought, they're not the same team. Now, we won't go into the prediction for this game coming up here on Monday night, but Miami's defense is tough. They're big and they're physical, and they're playing with a lot of heart right now. Mario's really got them playing good. So,
Mel?
I love that.
Yeah, that was a lot of information that you rattled off there, Scott. Yeah, obviously Alabama. I mean, this isn't the same Alabama. I've talked about this before. This is not Nick Saban's Alabama. This is a different Alabama.
Right.
They're given a lot of what I can say is this: I have two reliable sources. My eyes, they tell me that Indiana is the best college football team, the best team out there in all college football, just from watching them. And I don't see this game being close. I know a lot of people might see that because of their affinity for the Hurricanes, but nobody saw coming what they did to Oregon. Everybody thought Oregon would probably be a better game. Ole Miss and Miami was a good game. People said that was a good game. People thought that Oregon and Indiana would be a better game, and that was a blowout. And I don't see anybody stopping Indiana right now.
Well, you know what? You're right, Mel. There was a lot of information only because there are a lot of scores. I think the first round was probably realistic in terms of what the result was. I don't think a lot of people saw the blowouts in some particular cases, except when you had the group of five. That was different, Marvin.
Yeah, these prediction models, they don't factor in the human element. They don't factor in that these are kids who some of them had prom, about 8 months ago. They don't factor in these kids go out and hang out before the games, hanging out in fraternity row. I get what they're trying to do, man, but at the end of the day, you can't predict the heart of a champion. You don't know, how these kids are going to respond to pressure, travel, media, all that stuff, man. So, and obviously, those prediction models, some of those were wrong, and I get it. I mean, you look at a team like Indiana. I mean, this is really a JMU team. Kirk Cignetti has had these same guys for a couple of years. He got them when they were no stars, 1 stars, 2 stars, and he's brought them up now to the national championship game. You can't predict that, not when you got schools like Ohio State and bringing them 5 stars with a $40 million, roster. You can't predict all that. So I get it. It's cute. I'm a football nut, so I'm into that kind of stuff too, to a degree. But I realize at the end of the day, you got to play the game. You can't play it on paper. You can't play it on emotion. You got to play the game. And regardless of what Vegas says, regardless of what the prediction model says, you got kids out there who are elite, no doubt about it. If they're on that field Monday night, for example, those kids have transitioned to elite status. All of them have, and they got to get there and play. So yeah, prediction models, I'm not so big on those.
You know what, Marvin? That's a great segue to where we're going now. And let's talk about the roster talent when you break it down. Okay, number one, Indiana had 0 stars, 0 5-star players, and 7 4-star players. That's a great segue. Oregon, meanwhile, had 6 5-star players, and they obviously had, when you look at 52 4-star players. So again, you're talking about teams that are going what they are. Meanwhile, Ole Miss, on the other hand, had 3 5-star players and 33 4-star players. And Miami themselves had 5 5-star players, and then you had 40 4-star players. So that, to me, when you go from 7 with Indiana, okay, they 0 5-star players and 7 4-star players. You go from 7 to 52, 33 to 40. If this doesn't show anybody what it really is, which I think is just unbelievable when you really look at the model. I just think, again, and these numbers are just absolutely mind-boggling when you put them all in perspective. And Candy, go ahead.
What that tells me is Curt Cignetti is earning his contract because he's taking all those players that are not 4-star, 5-star players, and he brought them and coached them up and got them to the national championship game, which is awesome. And it also tells me, I wonder if all those models that predict 4- and 5-star players, if they're all correct.
Yeah, I mean, again, let me go over the figures again because they are that mind-boggling. Indiana, mind you, like I said, 0 5-star players, 7 4-star. That's unbelievable. That's just unheard of. And again, Oregon was 6 5-star players, 52 4-stars. Phil Knight, all that money, it is what it is. Then you got Ole Miss with 3 5-star players. And, of course, we know Lane Kiffin's already raiding that roster to begin with, 33 4-stars. And then last but not least, again, Miami, 5 5-stars and 40. Those numbers are just unbelievable. Now we'll go back to it again. That's just staggering.
Also, their average age, Indiana's average age is 23. The Chicago Bears' average age is 25. Right. Curt Cignetti has a philosophy as well. And Marvin can tell you this. Those stars really mean nothing. When you get to college, those stars, everybody's on the same level playing field. Those stars mean nothing. I've seen 4 or 5-star players crash out. I've seen 4 or 5-star players, and I'm like, how's this guy a 4 or 5-star player? I don't know how there's a lot of kids out there playing college, high school football. I don't know how the rating services work now. For the most part, they may be right, but we know there's been a lot of number one players who were number one players in high school in the country come out and haven't done anything at the college level. So those stars don't mean anything. But what Cignetti has done is he's gotten these guys who have, played 2 or 3 years at another university and brought them to his school. And he's got older, more mature guys. And now, they may have been a 2-star or a 3-star, but now they're playing like a 4 or 5-star because of the experience that they've garnered from the other universities that they've been at. So I don't take a lot of take a lot of credence in that star system because I've seen it personally, and I'm sure Marvin can attest to it as well. Those stars really don't mean anything once you get to college level because they don't measure a guy's heart.
Let's go to the chat room real quickly. Friend zone, who plays better in the team? There you go. Damn, 23. All right, continue on. Keep those things coming, Candy. Friend zone's always on a roll. Want to make sure all his stuff and everybody's got up. All right, Marvin, you heard about the stars. The stars mean anything to you at all?
Yes and no. I mean, listen, Ray Lewis was a 3-star football player going to UM. And Mel said it. It doesn't measure heart. You don't know what kind of dog you got until that dog's in the building. And that's true. Evaluating football players is one of the hardest things to do in the world. You see it with the draft, with how many times they draft these amazing kids in the first round, and these kids end up being busts. And I don't think it's really on the kid. I think it's more the organizations feeling the kid sometimes. But high school is even harder because it's raw. You don't have situations where it's hard to judge a kid in the middle of Iowa, who's playing in a small conference, doesn't play for a great team. It's hard to tell how good this kid really is until you put him with other players, until you get him coached up at the same level as some of these players at some of the bigger high schools. I mean, it's just hard to really evaluate, and I don't really put a lot into it. Like Mel said, I've seen 5 stars come to USC, and them dudes did not pan out at all. You see it at it's not a USC thing. You see it at every school, as Mel was saying. So I don't put a lot into it. The fact that they've made it, that Indiana and have made it through the gauntlet of college football, through the gauntlet of Big Ten football and ACC football, the fact that they're the last 2 standing, that tells me everything. At this point, all them dudes is 5-star high school players, all of them. Because once you get to this level and you competing, I mean, you're really equal in many ways. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't put a lot into the stars. I don't put a lot these evaluations because you just don't know what you got until you put that athlete out there. So
okay, fair enough. All right, when we talk about the Miami Texas A&M game, that wasn't the most expensive game that weekend. Though, get this: the most expensive game that weekend, actually, the cheapest ticket for Montana versus Montana State that weekend was $529. In a Wednesday night's edition of the Sports Exchange, I'm going to get into the regular season ticket between these two. So let me go over this again. The most expensive playoff ticket, the cheapest there for Montana versus Montana State was $529. Miami and Texas A&M only went for $238. I mean, they take things seriously in Big Sky Country, Candy.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, the difference. But the Montana game, that was a championship game, right, for them? Or
yeah.
Well, so, I mean, and whereas we're only in the playoffs for Miami and Texas Tech, but that's a big, significant difference. I mean, that's more than double. So, but you might have to mortgage the house to get a ticket to Monday night's game.
All right, but we're talking about that. Let's just talk about the past. We know what the present's going to be. We got to save a little bit of hay for another day, Candy. Okay, so again, $529, okay, versus $238. Big Sky versus, obviously, what you had down in Texas. Again, Miami, by the way, we all know when end of that game is the number 10 seed against Texas A&M. And you and I were the ones that got it right. A few other people on the panel, well, they kind of underestimated Miami. But I think Mario Crispal's made a few believers out of them. All right, Mel.
And that's pretty unbelievable. But I guarantee you it probably won't stay that way. Now that that's out there, I'm sure that the word is out. I'm sure it's not going to stay that way. But again, that Miami Texas A&M game was like a wild card game, right? I mean, so but I'm pretty sure it's not going to stay that way. Once the head honchos hear that, I guarantee you something's going to change.
I give Montana State their props on national broadcast. Come on, they played some good football up over at the FCS. Go ahead, Mario.
Shout out to Cedric Jefferson Jr., number 73 for Montana State, right tackle. I played with his dad at USC. Montana State won their championship this year. He was a great player for them, and he's since hit the transfer portal. Listen, it tells you how big football is in these regions, across the country. Whether you're a high power program like whether you're a low power program, whether you're Indiana or Montana State or Montana. People love their football, boy. They love their football. And if your school is a school that makes it to the championship and you're not used to being in that type of a situation and you don't usually make it to that far in the playoffs, then your people are going to come out. And when the stadium only can hold, 15 to 20,000 people, I don't know what it is at that level. I mean, those tickets are going to be hard to get. So I get it, man. I get it. People love their foosball. And the championship game is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Most teams don't make it to the championship. Look at UCLA and Mel. Have they ever been to a national championship? You know what I'm saying? So can you imagine what those tickets would go for if them Bruins made it to the championship? So but we talk about, post-segregation. Look, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, man, I love to see these smaller schools doing their thing. The fact that these fans are showing up, spending big money, just lets you know how they feel. And this is a great time to be a football fan right now. We just got to get this transfer portal fixed.
Hey,
At least
Bo,
we
by
don't
the
show up on
way,
a police blotter.
Hey, Bo, by the way, we did get approved for the Senior Bowl. We'll be out there leaving a week for Monday. So hope you end up making it out there. And obviously, we appreciate your support of what we do and miss you on the shows. But you're definitely in our mind all day long. All right, let's continue the narrative here. And let's talk about some more ratings and matchups that occurred earlier. Obviously, Tulane and James Madison had rough numbers in terms of also rankings, but I'm going to break down the group of 5 matchups that didn't generate much buzz or national interest. Alabama and Oklahoma did manage 14.9 million. Miami and Texas A&M 14.8 million. Tulane and Ole Miss 6.2 million, and James Madison, Oregon 4 million. Bama and Miami obviously did strong numbers. Candy, again, the numbers speak for themselves. They'll probably debate whether these group of 5 teams get in at some point, but let's just talk about the numbers in terms of the fact that they didn't get the job done, and the ones that were expected to get the job done indeed did.
Well, you have your powerhouses that you have big followings for. I think part of it also is timing, because weren't some of these like during the holidays, like that matters too. And are you in prime time or are you in the afternoon? Is there other competition or not? But the big programs are going to draw the big numbers because everyone wants to see those. You know, you have how many alumni of U of M that want to watch U of M? You might not have as much as some of the smaller schools.
Mel?
Yeah, football is not like basketball. They're looking for a Cinderella story. It's just not going to happen. I mean, because you got 22 guys out there in the field, and the group of 5 schools really, unless they're in the top 10. They shouldn't be involved in the playoffs. To be honest with you, the numbers were that way because nobody wanted to watch that game. They already saw Ole Miss and Tulane. They already saw that earlier in the year. Nobody wanted to see that again. Oregon and James Madison, although it might be a great story, nobody wanted to see that game. I mean, they might have tuned in for the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever, and then once they saw it get out of hand, then they said, I'm not watching this. I'm gonna go do something else, cut the grass, go outside and play with the kids, grandkids, whatever. Nobody wanted to see those games. They weren't compelling football games. Alabama and Oklahoma, compelling football games. They played earlier in the year. Oklahoma had beat Alabama. People wanted to see that football game. And the other game, I can't remember the other game, but the other game, it was compelling football. People wanted to watch that. People want to watch competitive football. They don't want to just see good stories. They want to watch competitive football.
Well, you just made a case, Mel, for them to expand the tournament to 16 just to get a couple of these teams in. But I love your points all the way around, Mel. Excellent points. Over to Marvin.
Yeah, they should expand the playoffs, man. Listen, sports, particularly football, are as big to a lot of people, are as big as religion, as big as family. It is what it is, whether it's right or wrong. And we realized that in the pandemic. What was the one thing everybody wanted? They wanted live sports, in my opinion. At least I did, And I want to be healthy and I want to live. I thought that we were going to turn into zombies. Anyway, look, it's big numbers, man. When you say 15 million people watching a game, 14 million people watching a game, that's huge. That's unbelievable. You know what I mean? It just tells you of all the things in this country, in this world that draw us into different places and all of our differences. Man, you put on a big game, we all watching, everybody watching. Sports is something that brings people together. It really does. And I love that aspect of sports. So, yeah, I hope they can continue to put together good games, good matchups. Mel is right. No one wants to see JMU and Oregon. That was such a waste of a playoff spot, such a waste of a day. You could have picked 5. No, listen, and no offense to JMU, y'all battled, y'all had a great time doing y'all thing in the, Division I AA, whatever it used to be called. But yeah, y'all don't belong, playing against the Oregons in the Ohio States and in the Miamis, the teams who are the elite of college football. We need to really do a better job with that, or expand it so that we can make sure that the right teams get in, even though it's a rival. Notre Dame got screwed. Notre Dame should have been in the playoffs. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. It blows my mind that people thought that UM should have been there. People say UM should have been there. Now UM has gone through the gauntlet of the playoffs, and they're going to the championship. They're going to probably get boat raced by Indiana. That's a different conversation. They made it, though. You know what I mean? So, yeah, those numbers are big. People love football. That is a fact.
Okay. Very good. All right, let's continue the narrative here. Okay, obviously, when we look at the fact that what a difference a year makes, the number one seed, obviously, in the AFC, Kansas City and Detroit in 2024 were eliminated in 2025. Candy.
You know, we've talked about NFL this year. There's more parity in the league. There isn't the dominance that we saw when we saw back in the day when we saw the Patriots win how many Super Bowls. You know, even Philadelphia is now out, and they're not going to repeat. It's tough to play in the NFL, and it's tough games. And we talk about how there are some teams that are more dominant, but any given team on any given Sunday can beat any team. So part of it also was injuries. You know, what team is the most injured team? Detroit had a lot of injuries this year. They also lost their coordinators this year. So they were a different team, different coaches. But kudos to all the teams that are still playing this weekend, even if my team's not there.
Yeah, it's amazing what a 15-2 record means one year, and then a year later it doesn't mean anything. Lions are obviously in transition, have some work to do under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, and obviously Kansas City was busted up with Patrick Holmes going down to their third quarterback because even Gardner Minshew got hurt. So we'll see what happens. Obviously a tough year for both of them. Mel, continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, now that you have a 17-game schedule, health is going to play a critical factor in how far you're able to advance. And it's a tough, as Marvin can probably attest to. Again, it's tough to win football games in the NFL. 17 games, 16 games back when we were playing. It's a grind, week in and week out. It's very, very difficult. And now, when you look at, you have a quarter of the league changing head coaches over. Somebody has to fill those positions, and a lot of times it's a coordinator on a good team. You know, they're gonna raid the good teams and try to fill those positions, those head coaching positions, with people who came from good teams. And so now there's a void left in that team unless you have some type of process in place to fill that void. Your team is left with a void there. And that's what happened with Detroit. You look at Detroit and their offense, it just never got clicking all year long. When you look at Chicago and what they're doing, well, the reason why is because they have Detroit's offensive coordinator as their head coach. So it's very, very difficult unless you're the play caller and then you can withstand those kind of changes within your organization. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to succeed year in and year out. And again, health plays a major role in it. A little bit of luck plays a role in it. The margins are slim in the NFL. You know, those guys across the line of scrimmage, they're getting a paycheck too. It's very, very difficult to win in the NFL.
Marvin?
Listen, every NFL team, going back to like these ratings and these stars, every NFL team has, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars in high school. Every NFL team has guys who are All-Americans, first round, second round, third round. Every NFL team has guys who are part of the salary cap who are getting paid millions of dollars. There are no easy games in the NFL. You know how hard it is to win games in the NFL? You know how much work people put into the week, into the season, into the offseason, just to go out there and go 3-13? I mean, I'm serious. It is so hard to win. And when you talk about, we talk about this, it makes Tom Brady and Joe Montana and these guys who've won multiple Super Bowls, it makes it look that much even better. Like, damn, how the hell did Tom Brady win 7 Super Bowls in a day and age where Dan Marino couldn't win 1? You know what I'm saying? So seriously, because if you ask me, Marino was a better passer, and I would probably take Marino in a pinch, to be honest with you, because I grew up with him and I know who he was as a player. Him and Warren Moon, these guys were it. No Super Bowls though. So yeah, it's tough, man, to win in that league. That league is not for punks at all. You got to be able to do it 17, 18 weeks. As Mel said, injuries. The human body wasn't made for football. I don't care how much weight you lift what kind of medicine you take. The human body is not ready for football. And we see it when these guys retire after a couple of years. Listen, in 3 years, I got one accredited season. My neck hurt, my back hurt. You would have thought I played a dozen years. You know what I'm saying? But that's just what it is. So, listen, it's competitive out there. That's really the bottom line. And, at one point, I thought Pat Mahomes was about to win 10 straight, right? But you forget, Brady won 3 in like 3 or 4 years, then won one for 10 years until he got his next one. So it's competitive. It's tough. You better hope that your organization can stay intact, head coach, GM, and all that, because winning at the highest level is the toughest thing you can do. And most people don't understand that because most people in their everyday jobs aren't competing with the world's best. They're not. But in the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, those are the best people in the world you're playing against every single week.
All right, so we talk about the Chiefs and the Lions, but get this. And this is just hard to believe. The New Orleans State started with Spencer Rattler, who earned the starting role for them, but then he ended up going 0-10, and how things changed by the end of the year, and he was bench in favor of Tyler Schlow. So now you could be looking at the Saints as a potential playoff team if this kid matures. Candy?
Yeah, I mean, quarterback play is it's not easy, and it's not easy transitioning from college to NFL. And then to get a new coach. Sometimes it takes a while for you to learn your coach and learn to play under your coach and the coach's schemes and to learn the system. Sometimes it takes time. I'll leave it at that. I'll let the 2 former players talk more.
Okay, go ahead, Mel.
And he may not be the answer. They drafted him in the second round, third round. I don't remember when he got drafted, Tyler Slow. But and he may not be the answer. And we knew, at least I knew that Spencer Rattler wasn't the answer. I mean, he started out at Oklahoma and he transferred to South Carolina. Right. At one time he was a Heisman Trophy candidate when he was at Oklahoma, and then he got benched for the kid from
Caleb Williams.
He got benched for Caleb Williams. So when Caleb Williams was a freshman out of Oklahoma, so you choosing a quarterback is a crapshoot, and until you get that position correct, it's very difficult. I don't care what level you're at, whether you're peewee level, high school, college. Until you get that position correct, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to win if you're trying to build your team around throwing the football and quarterback play. If you are able to play complementary football, get a good run game, control the line of scrimmage, run the football, stop the run, and just have him be a point guard, you're better off doing that. So we'll see what happens with New Orleans. I think there's still probably a long ways to go. I'm not really sure about their head coach. We have to see about him as well and how he develops as a head coach, and we just have to see.
Mel, Tyler was picked 40th in the second round, just for your to follow up.
I mean, they discard first rounders, so the second rounder they don't care.
Regardless, second round picks aren't all that bad. I can't say sure. First rounders are sure fire prospects either. Go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah. To Mel's point, Spencer Rattler, he was a top quarterback coming out of high school when he went to Oklahoma. He was like a top 3 quarterback. He went to go play for Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma. And I knew he was in trouble that his second season when, as Mel said, they brought in Caleb Williams he was playing high school football in DC, and Caleb took Spencer out and ended up being a starting quarterback as a freshman, like 2 or 3 games into the season, I want to say. And then Spencer goes to New Orleans, and they're talking about he's going to be the guy there. Nah, then he gets benched again. So it's competitive, man. It's just tough. It's tough. I think Tyler Shuck, I saw him play live the last game of the season against the Falcons in Atlanta. He's a player. He's a good player. He is. The reality is this. If you're a head coach, if you're owner and your GM and your head coach are not aligned, that quarterback's going to have a tough time, man, because you need a certain level of consistency and unity to give these young guys a chance. You have to have the same vision. And Tyler's okay, man. He's okay. He played well this year, had some big games, threw for 300 yards a few games, had a couple wins, showed some mobility. He's older. I think he's like 26 years. He's like a 26-year-old rookie or something like that. So he has a certain level of maturity. Is he the future? Right now, all signs are pointing toward he should probably go into camp as our number one guy. I can see us bringing in a veteran guy, maybe a guy who, can help push him a little bit. But as a former Saint, I'm happy to see they have a guy that can play the game, play the position, big athletic kid. Let's see what he does moving forward.
Yeah, you're right. He's 26. He'll be 27 in September.
Yeah, he's a grown man, for real.
Well, let me give you another good feel-good story. I remember when Sam Ellinger earlier in the year turned down 253-man roster opportunities to stay on the Broncos practice squad. Obviously, this comes from Jordan Schultz, who's a very big NFL contributor. What are your thoughts, Candy, about a guy who turns down 253-man roster opportunity just to stay on the Broncos practice squad? That says a lot about the guy.
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot about him. It says a lot about the organization, where he wants to, and what he wants to do, and where he wants to be.
No,
I mean, it depends on where he was. You know, I didn't know. First of all, I didn't know you could do that, and I don't know why you would do that. I was happy to get called off the practice squad. I started on the practice squad when I got into the league. The very first year they had practice squads. And it was the 17th week, the last game of the season. A safety broke his wrist. I don't know how it is that they brought up a fullback, but boy, I was happy to get called up. So I don't know how or why you do that, because obviously he's not going to play in Denver. I mean, they're pretty, they have their quarterback. So unless he wants to just learn from Sean Payton and get into the coaching profession, become a quarterback coach or something like that, maybe he's looking long term.
Well, then you just answered your own question on Mal, for God's sake.
I said maybe, sir.
Well, maybe good enough. It really is. I mean, maybe he wants to learn from Sean Payton, not the work. And what about the rest of their coaching staff? Yeah, so no, I mean, that's a great comeback for why you wouldn't want to do it, because most people would, but this guy did. But no, I'm complimenting him, Mel. I do throw one at you once in a while, and that's what I did.
It was like a left-handed compliment, but thank you, though.
All right, so what's a left-handed? Who cares? All right, Marvin, get him out of this thing.
Listen, before I answer this question, I got to ask Scott and Candy, because I forget we have so many great shows that we're doing. Is this show for grown folks or is this for families? Which one? I need to know that first. It's important.
I don't care. Right now, it's early in the morning.
Listen, the only reason
he's trashing.
The only thing I can think that this young fool was thinking about, he probably met some chick. He done met some chick who done put it on him. He don't want to leave the girl. I've seen it happen. It's crazy to say I've seen it happen. I, too, started out on the practice squad as an undrafted free agent. I was on the practice squad for the first 6 games, played the last 10 games on active roster. But you want to get off of that. You want to get that check. You want to get that bigger check. You want to be in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's ridiculous to me. I didn't know you could even do that. I don't even know why you'd even want a dude. Yeah, I don't know why you'd even want a dude who ain't got enough dog in him to want to go out there and hunt with his boys on game day. That's crazy to me. It is, unless he was scared, and that could have been true. He could have been scared. I don't know where he came from. At USC, man, listen, they was raised us to be dogs. Now, he must have been to UCLA. I bet you the dude.
They didn't go to UCLA, Brady. No, we don't have that. We got dogs in UCLA. Okay. He didn't go to UCLA. I think he went to Texas, didn't he?
I don't know. I think he did. Dog Candy will find out in a minute.
Yeah, she'll find out. But with that said,
Texas and probably USC was his second school.
He couldn't get into USC. Listen, there's no
couldn't get
I've
in.
never heard
his rap sheet wasn't long enough.
Nope, got to be a thug killer. No person, no kid, no player on the practice squad wants to stay there. That's to me, that's unheard of and crazy.
Yeah, but you know what? That's what makes the show interesting, because we find topics that nobody in their right mind would come up with.
There was a female involved. I'm telling you, he fell.
There's 2 guys that were on the practice squad. We can tell you, you don't want to stay on the practice squad. You do everything. That the active roster players do. You just don't suit up, and then there's 2 guys that don't suit up every week. Well, back then there was 2 guys that didn't suit up every week. I don't know how many guys don't suit up now, but back then there was 2 guys that were inactive. So I mean, you're doing the exact same thing. You just don't get paid the same amount of money. What I did, it was $1,000 a week. I don't know what you were getting, Marvin. It was $1,000 a week when I did the very first year.
It was more. It was a little more than that, but I forgot, man. I spent all my little cheese in the Hollywood Hills that off season.
Well, it's an early morning. That's why this topic's ideal for early morning. It's a wake-up call for people. This guy wants to stay in the practice squad. Well, there are better job opportunities out there. Anyways, you know what? Money. I think we can all agree on this one at least.
I was drafted by Denver. Denver's a nice little town. I mean, there's not much. I mean, there's not a whole lot to do there, but yeah, I mean, it was nice.
Well, yeah, I love Denver. I love the Rocky Mountains. I love everything about the area. Of course, I like
There's one club. Went to this club called Masquerades. It was open like Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. I don't know. That's where you went.
Is that the family show part of this thing that you're bringing into this?
Yeah, I can't go any further. I can't go any further details about Masquerades. Yeah, I had some good times over there.
Feel like you telling people what's going on at 8 Mile in Detroit.
They had a place that served some chitlins too, man, that we used to go to. I can't think of the name of it. Yeah.
This guy. What is he drinking this morning?
These people don't know. These people don't know what chitlins are. You should tell them what chitlins are Just tell them this. Let them know what it is.
Chitlins are a delicacy in the African American community. They're a delicacy. And I could go into it in a much further detail. It was, what we were allowed to eat. They were the scraps while, the master was eating on the ham and all the good parts of the pig, just left the scraps for us to eat. And we figured out a way, the pig feet and all that kind of stuff. We figured out a way to make a meal out of it. So chitlins are actually intestines. They're hog intestines.
I know about that. I've heard about them. We'll leave food off this. Let's continue to move on here. Although we've learned some interesting stuff on this morning's edition of Inside the Pickens. I will not put that down as a hashtag, or maybe I will. I don't know. I don't know how much traction you get on that one. But anyways, let's stop playing neutral site games already. Home college football games are 8 for 8 in terms of the electricity between the 2024 and 25. The crowd for the Orange Bowl was weak. These games should be played on campus until that natty, people. It was $120 to get in the Rose Bowl, which is unprecedented. The Cotton Bowl had an excellent crowd with Miami, obviously, in it. But the Orange Bowl was awful. I'm glad we actually got turned out for that pathetic game, Candy. I mean, I'm glad we stayed home. That was an awful game. Why don't you put the score out while you're at it?
Well, let me go look for it. Then why don't you go to one of the other guys while I look for the score?
All right, go ahead, Mel. I mean, it's okay to have a lot of the home games early on, reward the teams that are better. But when you see pathetic attendances in these, I know they're going to disrupt the bowl system, but man, the attendance for what these neutral site games are absolutely awful.
Or so you're talking about the neutral site games? You're talking about the bowl game, the ones that become the bowl games.
We're talking about neutral site games here, like some of these games later on, like the Orange Bowl, and the Orange Bowl was awful. You can see a lot of empty stands.
Well, Miami, they got a lot of things. Who played in the Orange Bowl? I can't remember. Who played in the Orange Bowl?
Was it Texas Tech and Oregon, I think, right?
I believe
that was a bad. Can't believe it.
I think that's just look at Oregon. That's a long
football playoff, I think. But early on, in terms of, go ahead, Candy.
No, I'm looking. You keep.
Well, just give me your thoughts, Mel, about these games being played in college home stadiums for a while until you get to the Final Four, so to speak.
Well, I mean, I went to the Peach Bowl. It was sold out. That was a nice game. I mean, but a lot of Indiana fans, because it was only an 8-hour ride. I think it was 8 or 10-hour drive from Indiana, and it was. I want to say it was probably 3/4 or better red in that stadium, and very little Oregon. The problem with the neutral site games is Oregon is way up there in that corner of the country. The Orange Bowl is way down in the furthest part of the country. Right. That's a long way for people to travel from Oregon to get down there. Now, I don't know why Texas Tech didn't come out there. Obviously, the people in Miami, they have other things that they're rooting their home team. They're looking at their home team. Why would they want to go support, Texas Tech and Oregon down in the Orange Bowl when their team is playing? So that probably was an anomaly because Miami's in the national championship hunt. But the Rose Bowl. I think I don't know what the attendance was in the Rose Bowl, but I mean, it looked pretty good. But like I said, the Peach Bowl, there was a lot of folks there. But I think the Orange Bowl was probably an anomaly.
In the Orange Bowl, it was Oregon versus
Texas Tech, and what they won. Texas Tech beat them. I mean, Oregon won 23-0.
Yeah.
You know,
the
it's probably
attendance
just one of those games that a lot of people weren't really excited about. Oregon couldn't come travel down there for whatever reason. You know, Texas Tech folks didn't show up, and Miami people didn't want to go.
The attendance was 65,021.
I don't believe that.
Wow. I mean, obviously, when you're watching the game, the attendance isn't necessarily what's in the stands the whole time. People show up, they go, and stuff like that. But that was the paid attendance that they're claiming was the attendance for the Orange Bowl. Whereas if you go to the Rose Bowl, it was 90,278 for Alabama versus Indiana.
And the Alabama folks and those Indiana folks, they travel, man. They getting them Winnebagos, man, and they head cross country. They get gone.
Marvin?
Yeah, listen, they'll get that figured out. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about the sport. It's not about football. It's about business, and they trying to make money on every level, whether it's TV, whether it's in the hotels, the restaurants, getting people in the stand. They trying to generate money. So they got to figure out these matchups, figure out these locations. I think there are so many opportunities to create great matchups and great venues all over the country. We got to probably do a little better at that and just being strategic about how we do these games and where they're at. So, yeah, I'm not discouraged by any of that. Football's on the rise. The numbers are out of control. College football was up this year. And, it's something to get worked out. It will. At the end of the day, the best place to watch the game is at home. The TV product that they put on there is phenomenal. You can watch the play. You can watch the replay. You can listen to the commentary. You really can't beat that. So, for the football fan, it's going to be okay. For the business side of it, for the people putting together these games, they'll get that figured out.
Yeah, a fun game. I'm glad we didn't go to after all. I mean, it would have been nice to go to the Orange Bowl. It didn't work out. No big deal. We saw the game, and obviously we'll see what happens. But we have a busy schedule covering the Senior Bowl anyway. So let's talk about teams with the bye in the 12-team college football playoff. 1-7 turned out to be the actual number, and that only win came through the Indiana Hoosiers. Candy, what are your thoughts of the bye? It almost looks like the bye to me isn't doing anybody any favors.
Sometimes it's nice to get rest, to get healthy again, but in other times then you get out of rhythm. So it just depends on how well you're coached and how well your players adapt to that. Rhythm matters. They haven't played for how long. The difference between the last regular season game and really the college football playoffs was how long. That even made it longer. It was a month, I think, almost, or something for Indiana before they played again. That time off matters. But they obviously are well coached and they were well prepared, and look where they're at now.
Mel?
Yeah, it all depends on what you're doing during that time off. One of the things that Coach Donahue was very good at is anytime we were in a bowl game, we had a consecutive streak for winning bowl games when I was at UCLA, and I can't remember what that streak was. We were very, very good at preparing for bowl games during that dead period of time in which, a lot of schools like USC were at home, or in Cancun or whatever doing, because they weren't bowl eligible, and we were practicing for bowl games. We were very good. It depends on what you're doing. Football players, we do things based on a routine. And these kids have a routine. Now they have bye weeks during the season now as well, so they're more accustomed to dealing with these bye weeks. It depends on what you're doing. I mean, what are you doing during that bye week? Are you guys, is it a vacation, or are you maintaining the same type of routine? And I think Indiana and Kurt Cignetti, they just maintained the same type of routine. Now, some of these other kids, man, they might have been going on vacation. They might have been hanging out at frat parties or whatever. I don't know exactly what, and really looking at it as a vacation and not understanding that this, they still have business to tend to. But it really just depends on the mindset. And that all starts with a head football coach. And obviously, the way that Indiana has gone out there and have performed, they had the right mindset during their bye week.
Marvin?
Yeah, Candy was dead on. I think Mel followed up with great points. These teams, they want to stay on rhythm. It's a real thing. Your body adapts to a schedule, and when you miss a week and, you're not, especially if maybe if you're younger, it has even more impact, I would think. But if you miss a week or you've been doing something consistently for so many weeks and you get off of that, and it's hardcore training, because those games are, take a tremendous toll on your body, that could mess you up, man. You see that and you wonder, and you see why these coaches in the NFL a lot of times play their guys sometimes. McVay plays his guys, you know what I'm saying? Not Philly. Philly lost, it was a Philly who had a bye. But nevertheless, it's a big deal and it's a very real thing. And I think, these coaches are trying to figure out, do I rest the guy and minimize, injury? But for these college buys, these teams going 1-7, it's hard, because when you first get that buy, you're excited. But again, the coach is definitely concerned, and you see the results, as Scott said, of 8 of them, 7 of them have lost. That's terrible.
All right, let's continue on here. Your transfer portal, get this, you talk about how important it is. All 4 teams in the college football playoffs are led by portal quarterback. Trinidad Chambliss went from Ferris State to Ole Miss. Fernando Mendoza, who, by the way, played for California and lost to Cam Ward last year when they faced each other in California. He goes from Cal to Indiana. Carson Beck goes from Georgia to Miami. And Dante Moore goes from UCLA to Oregon. Candy, some thoughts about the impact of the transfer portal quarterbacks?
It's NIL. It's what we have now in college sports. They're going to be transferring, and they're going to try and find the best fit for them, the best team that will give them the best chance to make their dreams come true. Because most of them, their dream is to get into the NFL. So they want to play on the elite teams, get a lot of playing reps, and have the best chance to win, to propel themselves to the next level.
No.
Yeah, I think all of them are similar except for Dante. Dante played as a freshman at UCLA, then lost his starting job, and as soon as the season ended, he got in the portal and went to Oregon, and then he sat for a year behind Dylan Gabriel and learned a lot from Dylan Gabriel, and then came out and started this year. The rest of them played a lot of football. Mendoza played a lot of football at Cal. The kid Chambliss, he played a lot of football at Ferris State, won a couple of Division II national championships, and obviously Carson Beck played a lot of football as well. So what you're seeing is these coaches, they're not really into we're in this microwave generation. Coaches don't have time to wait for a kid to develop. They'll let somebody else develop them, whether it be at a lower level or at another university, and bring them into their university and help, use them to help them get to wherever it is that they want to go. Right now, coaches just don't have the time. I mean, they're on the hot seat. Their jobs are on the line. There's a lot of money out there. They're getting paid a lot of money. There's a lot of money in television revenue and all that. They have to win, and they have to win yesterday. So, with the transfer portal, it's allowing them to look, scour the nation to try to find a quarterback who's got some reps, because it's important that a guy has some reps. You want the guy to have some reps, because then you can see how this person is going to respond and react under pressure. Even though you may have recruited a guy and brought him in and you think that he might be what you're looking for, they just don't have the time to develop these kids now.
Marvin?
Man, it's a different day. And, guys, old school guys like me and Mel, football traditionalists, this is what we're seeing today is just unreal. Now, on one hand, I'm happy. I'm so happy that these boys is getting their money. And I hope they continue to get that money. Good for them. But on the other hand, when I chose to go to USC, well, this was a lifelong commitment. This was something that I've wanted to do since I was in 3rd grade. You know what I mean? I was so proud to be able to go to USC and play for USC in the Coliseum, get a degree from USC, walk around this world as a USC alum. These are all the things that I was looking forward to and I wanted. So to see these kids go to school and then bounce out after getting, a $500,000 check, and they got their feelings hurt, they didn't start. That's something to adjust to. Again, I know it's a new day and attitudes are changing and times are changing, and we're seeing the business of football not just evolve but show itself, because it's been big business. I don't think people really realize that. It's a new day, man. You're going to see this, and Mel has a great point. It's one of those things where it's like, do you even recruit high school kids anymore, or do you just focus on the transfer portal if you're certain programs and just, take the kid that's been developed by a Lincoln Riley, been developed by a Nick Saban, and bring him to your school now? So the strategy, the mindset is completely different, and it's odd for us old school heads, but it is what it is, and you have to adapt, because those who don't adapt are the ones who lose out and miss out the most. So I'm trying my best to change my mentality, change how I see this, and just accept this new day.
Well, welcome to the show, North Florida Kane. We appreciate it. North Flo Kane. I hope you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you can, please do so. If you're not already, get all the alerts. We do a lot of stuff with the Miami Hurricane. Friend Zone, you're awesome. That's all I can tell you. All right. So obviously, for the first time in the present, 1998 to the present, the BCS and CFP era, the team will play for a national championship in its own stadium. Mind you, though, this is a little deceiving because the Miami Hurricanes have played in the Orange Bowl and have won national championships in the past, dating back to 83 and a few other occasions. But for this particular person, it's the first time it's actually going to happen. Marvin, your thoughts about whether or not the Canes are going to have a home field advantage in this?
Are they going to have a home field advantage? Yeah, they will, just because of the fact that they're comfortable playing there. They don't have to. They're not doing any traveling, so there's no distraction, in this week in Miami. Unlike Indiana, these Indiana boys had never seen streetlights. You know what I'm saying? So when they go to Miami, it's gonna be a whole nother life for them. This ain't the country. This ain't the Midwest. And I'm not knocking Midwest people, Kenny. I'm just saying. I'm just making fun here. But no, it's a whole other world. You go from Indiana to South Beach. You know what's on South Beach? Nothing good. Nothing that young men should be a part of for that week. And they got a lot of money in their pocket. And they got a lot of options on South Beach. There's a lot going on. Listen, any team that comes to Miami is at a disadvantage, because if you ain't used to what you're gonna see in those 2-3 days, those 4 or 5 days, man, it could throw you off. You end up staying late, hanging out at the Hard Rock, hanging out at Tootsie's, hanging out at places you just shouldn't be at, because they don't have that in Indiana. So, it is a huge advantage for the Canes, but I don't think it's going to matter, because I think the Indiana boys coming to do work.
What do you think, Mel?
It's been a long time since I've been to Bloomington, but I'm sure they have some places that are similar. They just don't look the same. They're built differently. I know when I went to UCLA, I never saw so many 5'9", 5'10" stallions. They weren't built like that in Michigan. I think the home field, they'll have a home field advantage, like Marvin said, because they'll be familiar with the stadium and the surroundings and the turf and all that. But it won't matter after the kickoff. I think that's all going to go away. Indiana, I believe they're there on business, and I told my brother this. I take my hat off to these kids doing this NIL generation. I couldn't imagine having a couple dollars in my pocket and being in college. I couldn't imagine what that's like. I don't know if I can handle it. I don't think I would be mature enough to be able to handle having a few dollars in my pocket. I mean, I had a couple dollars. We'd have $20 in our pocket, and we thought we had all the money in the world. And again, now we're in California. Now we're in Los Angeles. You had the Lakers, you had the Raiders, you had the Rams, you had the Clippers. There was a lot of things that you had to compete with. We weren't worried about the USC guys. We used to always snatch their ladies. We weren't worried about that. But you had a lot of people that you had to compete with, and we only had $20 in our pocket, and you couldn't tell us nothing. Now, if I had a few bands in my pocket, it might have been a lot different. So thank God we didn't have NIL back then. But no, I think that home field advantage will quickly evaporate after the first kickoff.
Mel, you should have came to SC, baby. We had NIL before NIL. You know what I'm saying? You just come over to our side. We would have taken care of you, dog.
Yeah, you guys got $50.
I got $50 one time. I got $50 one time just to see if I could get it. I just wanted to see. I had heard some things. I heard about a guy, and I just went up to him, told him I had a little situation, and he told me to say, "Hey, go see so and so." So I went to go see so and so. She opened up her drawer. There's a lot of envelopes in there. And she gave me an envelope. I got $50.
There you go.
See, if I had $20 in my pocket at USF, I was going to Steak and Shake. Boy, I enjoyed that. That's a place where broke people go back.
We're going to Club Paradise.
You said Steak and Shake, Scott? That's where you were going?
Steak and Shake.
I think I went there one time.
Poor man's compensation, but I enjoyed the shake, and I was skinny enough to drink the shakes back then. Now it's a different situation. Candy, rapid fire as we're going to continue to roll through the topics. Go ahead, Candy.
So the interesting points on this that I want to talk about. In the movie Hoosiers, they talk about The basketball court is the same no matter what. It's the same size no matter where you're playing. Same could be here. The turf, just so you know, Mel, they just replaced it. So it's brand new turf. They brought in new sod there. So yes, Miami knows the locker room. Miami knows. I don't know that Indiana fans travel well. It's an expensive game, so who's going to be there at the game? The crowd might play a little bit of a factor. But the other thing you guys didn't mention is Indiana's quarterback grew up in Miami. He's from Miami. He can tell all of his teammates about Miami. So he knows, and so it's not maybe as much of a factor as we might think. But yeah, Miami is at home playing under the same lights that they're used to. But the other thing is Indiana's gone to some big stadiums and had some big wins. They play at Ohio State. They've played at Michigan. They've played at some of those big, so they've been on the big stage. Yes, not necessarily the national championship. I get that. But they've played in some big stadiums and some big games as well.
Yeah, friend zone, that food over Steak and Shake is great. All right, continue rapid fire. We're going to get through everything today. Obviously, Matthew Stafford's record when the temperature is 40 degrees or below is 1-9. I think it'll be 2-9. But anyways, it's food for thought, Marvin. Everything's rapid fire going forward. You think he improves or not?
Do I think he improves? That they're playing against
2-9, yeah, against the Bears.
Chicago.
Yeah, they're going to Chicago to play against my main man, Caleb Williams. Listen, I believe in Stafford. I believe in McVay. I believe in that Rams team. I also believe, partially in numbers. Numbers tell you a story, don't tell you the whole story. I wonder how much of that record was when he was with Detroit.
Most of it.
Well, there you go. So with that said, I don't put a lot into that. I think Stafford's a dog. I think he's the real deal. I think he's a tough dude. I think he has an old school mentality. I like Stafford a lot. McVay's built the same way, I believe. I don't know if they're going to go out there and beat them Bears, but I'm not putting anything into that record, that stat at all.
Well, it's worth mentioning it anyway. So those people that are bettors out there and looking for information, he's 1-9. Who knows if he'll be 2-9? All right, Mel.
Yeah, I'm with Marvin on that.
But I'm going with the Rams anyways. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm with Marvin on that. I mean, it was cold for everybody, and a lot of those losses came when he was in Detroit. And we know how Detroit was. Detroit wasn't a very, very good football team. But I don't put a lot into those numbers. I think the Rams will win. They got to be able to run the football and run the football effectively. That's one thing that you need to be able to do in cold weather. You need to be able to run the football. You need to be able to stop the run. And I think the Rams will get it done. And you remember last year in a snowy game in Philadelphia. I mean, they were one play away from beating Philadelphia last year in Philadelphia and went on to win the Super Bowl. So I think they have a lot to. I think they remember that, and I think that they have a lot to play for this year.
Candy.
I would agree with both of them. I mean, you can't put a lot of stock in it because it was different teams, different players you were playing against. Matthew Stafford is a tough quarterback. I give him a lot of credit, and I give them the edge this week.
Okay. All right. More information. I got plenty of it. Former UCLA head coach Rick Neuheisel has been named head coach of the Dallas Renegades. He is in the United Football League. Some thoughts about Neuheisel going to the UFL. Marvin?
I got a lot of love for Rick Neuheisel. When I was at Birmingham High School in the San Fernando Valley, Rick had just got hired as the head coach for Colorado. And Colorado was a school I was really high on. Back in the mid-'90s, they had a real program. They was doing it at a very high level. A lot of California kids was going out there. Rick was always cool, man. Rick also was my dad's teammate in Tampa. They were teammate with the Bucks in the mid to late 80s. And Rick was cool, man. He was, was straight up, nice dude, knew football. And I've always been a fan of his ever since that experience. I wish him nothing but the best. I think he can relate to these players. I think he's been a coach at UCLA. He's played at the highest level as a quarterback. He has perspective. He understands the game. And we know that as he's been an analyst. So, yeah, let's see if he can get a quarterback in there. Let's see if he can get some players. Let's see if he can compete. But this guy knows football, and I think he'll do well.
Yeah, I'm happy he's back in the coaching business.
Yeah.
You mentioned it yourself there. CBS, obviously a good coaching college, great football person all the way around. Mel, he's from your alma mater. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rick. I think it was he was going out when I was coming in, and he was a GA there when I was there. I think for my last couple of years, he was a GA. But Rick has been wanting to get in the coaching profession, get back into it. I know Rick pretty well. He's been wanting to get back into coaching, and for whatever reason, he's just been kind of, I don't know, kind of blackballed or whatever the case may be. Just people just don't think of him as a head coach. After the way things happened, ended at UCLA. But I mean, at Washington, he had an unfortunate situation with some kind of, they had some kind of tournament pool or something like that, and they were trying to say he was betting or something like that, but it was really a office pool or something that he was involved in, and he got ousted from Washington, and then he was on the sidelines for a little while, and then a lot of us alum, after things were going on with the things that were going on at UCLA, we wanted Rick because we felt Rick was a good coach, and unfortunately things didn't work out for Rick at UCLA. But Rick has always wanted to get back into coaching, and so I'm happy that he's getting an opportunity to get back into coaching.
And in a few weeks, we're going to go over some of the United Football League hirings. I just thought this was a UCLA topic, person, a good opportunity to put it in there. Candy, go ahead.
He was born in Madison, Wisconsin.
Look at
that. You got to bring that Wisconsin boy up here. But anyway, no. But coaching, he's coached. He was a grad assistant at UCLA, quarterbacks coach, wide receivers coach. Then he went to Colorado as an offensive coordinator, head coach. He went to Washington as a head coach. He went to Baltimore Ravens as a quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator, head coach. Then he went to Arizona Hotshots as a head coach, and now Dallas Renegades. Yes, he's taken some time off and been out of it for a couple years, but sometimes that gives you a different perspective too, and comes in coaching, in the I think it's good for him. I mean, I hope he has much success.
Very good. Okay, let's continue on. USC got rid of their game with Notre Dame due to Notre Dame's agreement with the college football playoff. All right, Marvin, some thoughts about Notre Dame getting bounced from USC because of that agreement.
I'm happy you brought this up, Scott. Marcus Freeman, head coach of Notre Dame, he said he was willing to play USC anywhere, anytime, any place, under any circumstances. Well, we offered him an opportunity to play us in week 0 early in the season. We wanted that game. We wanted to continue that rivalry. That rivalry's been going on for over 80 years. It only stopped twice in World War II and once because of COVID. And what it really came down to is these Notre Dame, who's not in the conference, they want their cake and they want to eat it too. They want to be able to dictate their schedule, dictate who they play, dictate the level of competition, dictate whether they're going to take on that smoke or not. And it's horrible for college football fans. It's one of the greatest rivalries in college football. And it's a heartbreaking situation for USC to not play Notre Dame. Listen, when I was at USC, we went 3-1 against Notre Dame. When my dad was at USC, he went 3-1 against Notre Dame. I was at USC. We were on a 13-game losing streak, and we snapped the streak when I was there. When Pete Carroll came years later, he owned them for a decade. Notre Dame has beaten us, I think 9 out of the last 15 games. It goes back and forth, and that's just part of it, and that's all good. But to stop playing the game is criminal. It's heartbreaking. You play Notre Dame. You play against USC if you're Notre Dame. They walked away to go play against BYU. They wanted they wanted to play BYU as opposed to USC, and that's what they've done. They've scheduled that. And college football fans, USC fans, Notre Dame fans are livid over that. It was horrible.
I don't have a lot of good things to say about Notre Dame, and I will when we. But I'll tell you what, we'll have other time on other days to talk more about it. It's just unfortunate that Notre Dame didn't play the game other than when they normally do, and I'll leave it at that. 3 more topics after this, Mel. We need you to try to get through the last few, okay? And then we're just about done, rapid fire. So, all right, some thoughts about the fact that USC pulled the plug on Notre Dame, because that's pretty much what they did.
Yes, it ain't no fun when the rabbit has the gun. See, Notre Dame thought they were in a position of power when actually USC was in the position of power. And Notre Dame needs USC more than USC needs Notre Dame. Once USC moved to the Big Ten, they don't really need Notre Dame anymore. They've got enough big games to play to fill their schedule. Notre Dame has the problem filling their schedule with enough quality opponents so that they can be considered for the college football playoffs, which happened this year because they are not in the conference. They're the odd man out. Now they're going to regret this decision at some point in time. I think at some point in time they'll come back and they'll start playing this football game again. But USC dictated the terms. They're going to dictate the terms of when this game's going to be played.
Mel, you just hit a bullseye with that comment. Marvin, give him the man his due. When USC and UCLA joined the Big Ten, all you did was add Nebraska, Michigan, and Ohio State to go along with the rest of them. And Notre Dame, what do they have? Nothing. So USC, Mel, you just hit another bullseye. You're on a roll in there.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But when you add Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State, and then Notre Dame's out there looking to get recognition, that's just a bad, atrocious move. Great stuff, Mel. Go ahead, Katie.
The tradition began back in 1926 and has played 96 times since then. How do you not keep going with a tradition like that? The problem with, and I don't know that I should say like this generation, but traditions are falling by the wayside, and that's sad because these two teams playing each other dates back so many people. Like if you have fathers and sons that played it and then other sons, like that just loses its meaning. But yeah, this is all on Notre Dame because USC wanted to play them, has contacted them numerous times. Notre Dame had said we'd play anytime and anywhere. Well, that they sent a proposal and it was rejected within 5 minutes of them getting the proposal. They're talking about possibly getting it back, but if it does happen, it won't happen till like 2030 or so. So you're talking about a hiatus for how many years? That is sad. Criminal.
Yeah. All right, continue on here. Obviously, Florida State quarterback Tommy Cassiano is declared for the 2026 NFL draft. So what kind of a pro will he become, Marvin?
When that backpedals, probably. I don't know if this dude, listen, he was really good in college. I liked him at BC. I was excited for Florida State when they got him, but I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback. I hate to say that. I think he's an elite level athlete. If he can backpedal, if he can catch the ball from the slot, if he can return the ball, maybe, because he got shakes. He knows how to get jiggy with it, so his kid has moves. I think he's a tough kid. I just don't I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback.
Well, time will tell. I mean, obviously,
and I wish him the best.
Well, no, here's what you have. Time will tell. You have all-star games, and you also have the combine and a lot of things. And, of course, he's a dual-threat quarterback. But you're right. Time will tell. But, obviously, he ran out of options at Florida State. The only option he had was to go pro. Mel.
As a dual-threat quarterback, how many dual-threat quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl? I mean, you look at Jalen Hurts, is probably the only one that's won a Super Bowl. Guys, they're not looking for a dual-threat quarterback. He doesn't have ideal size. He had one good game. He said, he made a comment about Nick, something about Alabama. Nick Saban's not going to save you. He was able to back it up one game. After that, he kind of fizzled. I don't see him as, he'll get an opportunity in the UFL to continue his career, and maybe he's able to stick get on the practice squad or something like that with an NFL team. But I don't see a real future for him as a starting quarterback in the NFL. But again, I wish him all the best.
Yeah, I can see the United Football League or even the Canadian Football League, where obviously the field is a lot wider. We saw Warren Moon made the transition, but either way, I don't think he's playing in the NFL next year. Candy?
Yeah, I don't think he's playing in the NFL next year. Now, will he be sitting as a backup behind somebody? But the problem is most teams, when they're drafting these days, they're drafting their starting quarterback. They're not drafting a backup quarterback to sit and wait for a couple of years.
Okay, let's continue on. Liam Cohn is just thankful that a small market team like the Jaguars can come into Mile High and get it done. Jags won in Denver, and this is a building block for them in 2026. Obviously, the Jaguars are out of the playoffs, Marvin, but it was a good win in Mile High nonetheless. Marvin.
Yeah, it was when they played. I think Trevor had a good game. And listen, the Jags they had a really good season this year. They really had it. When you look at the history of their organization, you would have to say this year was historic for them. Trevor put up big numbers. They had a trio of receivers who were outstanding. Travis Etienne ran the ball hard. They had
Right.
one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. I think they led the NFL in takeaways. So yeah, the Jags, are an organization that are definitely ascending with their quote unquote young quarterback, definitely ascending with their young head coach. And this is an organization that Jags fans should feel optimistic about moving forward. The road to winning Super Bowls is a process, man. It's really a process. You rarely see teams go from the bottom to the top overnight. You have to learn how to win. You have to learn how to get through adversity. You have to learn how to get through tough times. You have to learn how to back bounce through losses. You have to learn all this stuff. So they're in the middle of the process, and I expect the Jacks to be competitive moving forward.
Mel?
Yeah, I mean, Marvin hit it right on the head. It's a process. Winning is a process. They've been a dumpster fire for so many years. For them to do, to have the type of turnaround that they had last season was remarkable. Yeah, they go on the Mile High, win one game. Again, Marvin and I have talked about it. Tough to win football games in the NFL. It's tough to stay up for every opponent. Obviously, the Jags were probably really high to play against the Denver. Denver may not have been as high to play Jacksonville, and they ended up, getting a win. It's hard to go 17-0 in this league. It's only been done one time that somebody's gone through the entire regular season 17-0. Well, twice, but that somebody's gone through the entire regular season and not lost a game. So it's very, very difficult to win games in the NFL. But they can be happy, they can be proud in Jacksonville. They have a product that they can be proud of now. Looks like they got a real leader there. And looks like the future is bright for Jacksonville.
Okay, Candy.
Jacksonville has had one of their best years, undoubtedly. And traveling to Denver and playing in Mile High with the altitude like it is, and going in and handing Denver one of their couple. They only had I think 4 losses total. Jacksonville did a great job. Liam Cohen has turned that team around. Now it'll be interesting this offseason because they do not remember they traded their number 1 draft pick away because they got Travis Hunter this offseason. So, but they have 10 to 13 picks in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see who they get to complement who they already have there.
Great stuff. Okay, finally, Trayvon Walker on Bandwagon Fans. Well, this is the family show, so he doesn't think much of them, saying that to whoever criticizes us only when they lose, keep in mind Jacksonville selected Walker number 1 out of Georgia over Aiden Hutchinson. In other words, I can use the F word, figure it out, okay, because this is a family show. He doesn't think much of them. So what are your thoughts, Candy, about his passion for Bandwagon Fans or lack thereof?
Whatever he needs to do to get everybody more engaged, it's a business. You're trying to get attention to you and your team and get your team pumped. So whatever, I get it. Bandwagon fans are bandwagon fans.
Mel?
Yeah, when did he make this comment? This was after they lost or something like that? Because they're out of the playoffs right now. So what?
That's what everybody was getting when they started winning the division and all that. Things are picking up steam, obviously, and that's when he made the comments, and it's appropriately so, because a lot of times in Florida you have a lot of bandwagon fans. Tampa not so much, but Jacksonville hasn't had a lot to be excited. In Miami, they're definitely bandwagon fans here.
Fans have every right to be fair weather fans. They're paying money to go out there and watch these guys play. They have every right to jump on and jump off the bandwagon. When the team is bad, they have every right to criticize the team when the team is playing poorly. And obviously they're going to relish in it when they're playing well. It's us. When they're playing well, it's you when they're playing bad. So that's just how fans are. They're fickle.
Marvin?
I think fans are more emotional than they are bandwagon. Listen, fan is short for fanatic. These people are emotionally tied to their teams. These teams are their families. I'm telling you that right now. If you grew up in certain regions and under certain programs and organizations, man, the Cowboys are your family. It breaks your heart when your family fails you on Sunday, whether it's the Trojans or the Bruins or whoever it is. This is your family. When they lose, man, it hurts. And you want to fight and you want to cuss and you want to do this and you want to do that. That's, again, it just tells you how big sports are in our culture and the reality of what they're in our lives. I understand what the player's saying here. You want people to have a different level of emotional intelligence, but it's tough after a loss, man. These fans build up, these fans get nervous and have anticipation all week, just like the players do. So when you go out there and lay an egg, them fans got a lot to say, especially in the social media era.
No doubt. I number one, Candy and I covered a lot of games in Jacksonville. That's a great football town. It really, really, really is. All right, Mel, you got room you have a minute or two for predictions. All Candy's going to do is give you the games and the winner, and we'll call it a day.
Let's
Candy.
go.
All right, go ahead, Candy.
Okay, today's game, Buffalo Bills at Denver Broncos.
All right, you could start off with the predictions. Who do you like?
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. I'm gonna go with Buffalo because I'd like to see Josh Allen win one, but it's gonna be it's gonna be very difficult to win in Mile High.
Okay, San Francisco at Seattle.
Well, here, go around.
I'll let Mel do all of his, so then he can get off.
Go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, listen, the MVP versus Sean Payton and Bo Nix. I'm gonna ride. I hate to say this, man, because I believe in Josh Allen, y'all, but I gotta go with them Broncos. That defense, Sean Payton. I think Bo's gonna play an efficient game. Yeah,
I'm gonna go Denver as well. I've been riding that hotel. John Paul will like me, but I gotta go with his Broncos in this case. And I have a little soft spot for Denver. I saw them win the first Super Bowl I ever attended, Super Bowl 33 here in Miami, ironically at Hard Rock. Okay.
And Bo Nix led me to my first fantasy football championship in Sunday school.
There we go. Now I get it. Okay, go on.
49ers at Seattle.
Well, you didn't give us your prediction, Candy. Don't even do that.
I think Buffalo. I think Josh Allen, the MVP, is going to take it.
All right. 3 more games. Everybody gets their introductions, and that's it.
San Francisco at Seattle.
I can't root for the 49ers. Playing for the Rams is very difficult for me to root for the 49ers, so I'm going to go with Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going Seattle as well. Go ahead, Marvin.
Let's go, Sam Darnold. Let's get it, baby.
Candy?
Seattle. And then next game will be tomorrow, Houston Texans at New England.
I'm going New England. Got to go New England. Mel?
I'm going Houston.
Marvin?
I hate to say it as a Jet fan, but I got to go with them Patriots. I think they're going to win. I think they're good.
Candy?
I think it's going to be a tough battle against Houston's defense, but I'm going to go New England.
Last game. Go ahead, Candy.
Rams versus Bears.
I'm going Rams. I have to stay with the Rams in Stafford. Mel?
Rams. I'm going with the Rams.
Okay, Marvin?
Caleb Williams, baby.
I knew it. There always has to be one.
All right, Candy.
Rams. Are we going to do Miami versus Indiana?
Do you really want to? Do you really want
Absolutely.
to?
I'm going with the Miami Hurricanes. I have to stay with my Canes. Even though Candy isn't Hoosier's girl because she was born in Indiana, just so you know.
Who are you going with, Candy?
Indiana. I want Miami because I'm down here and I've covered them the whole year, but I just think watching Indiana, they are they're a really good football team.
Yeah, so I don't think the game will be competitive.
Indiana girl going with Indiana. How it all comes out. Karen Gorby, I hope you're not watching this.
No, she's got 2 reliable sources too, and I don't. It's not going to be competitive. I don't believe it's going to be a competitive football game from what I've seen.
Okay. Well, I'm going Miami. She's going with Indiana, rightfully so, homie. Okay, go ahead. So you're going with Indiana as well? Mel?
Absolutely.
What about you, Marvin?
I've seen Miami struggle too many times throughout this season. I've never seen Indiana struggle. I've seen them in a fight. I've seen them, fight, but they've never struggled in a game. I saw them dominate teams, beat teams A. I mean, just beat them like Indiana's going to come out here and do this, and it's going to be ugly. I believe that.
All right, so I'm the lone Mohegan here, but I'll tell you what: if Indiana does finish undefeated, 16-0, Bobby Knight back in the 70s, the Hoosiers will be undefeated in probably in the 2 biggest sports on the planet. Not the worst thing in the world. All right, and obviously Candy's got a pic of Carson Beck that she did go ahead and take. Very good.
Picture of his
And what's the other
derriere
one?
too.
And who's the other one, Candace?
That's Ruben Bain with Coach Jason Taylor.
There you go, Jason Taylor. Great stuff. So Ruben Bain, Jason Taylor.
Jason
All right,
Taylor's
Mel,
not going to come out there and help him.
Let everybody know how they get a hold of Mel. You've been a trooper hanging.
Hey, you can follow me on all social media at Melfar Jr. And you can find out what we have going on for the youth here in Georgia and also in Michigan at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
All right, Marvin, go ahead.
Man, you can catch me all week and even on the weekends with the South Florida Tribune. You can catch me on social media, Marvin Powell III, Marvin on the mic. You can catch me twice a week with Locked On USC.
Candy, take us the rest of the way.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. It is also available in the audio version now on Audible, Nook, Kindle, all of those places. So go get your copy today, whether you like the audio version or the actual book version. There's also the book version is available through our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, which has a plethora of great content. So go check that out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you see the red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. Click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss an episode. Enjoy the football this weekend. Back to you, Scott.
Great show to hear today. The Fearsome Foursome brings it to you again. Enjoy the football, both college and pro. And we appreciate Friend Zone, Earl Kinsey, and everybody else that participated in the chat room. Very great stuff. So I love this foursome. That's why we created this show on Saturday, get you so everybody gets awake for football. So meanwhile, we'll do it again next Saturday. Of course, we have another edition of Inside the Pigskin on Tuesday night. So meanwhile, everybody have a great weekend. God bless to you, Mel. Thanks for hanging a few extra minutes. Marvin, as usual, you're the best. Candy, what can I say? You're the Rolls Royce of people, and me, I'm just whatever I am. Motor City Madmouth. There you go. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the football. Bye now.